remember it so clearly. That day. My head had hurt. I could hear the hooves of horses. The movement of something. It was just cold. Your Highness. Wakey, wakey. Hello. Someone spoke. The voice. I couldn't recognize it at all. What was the last thing I remember? Hey, hey, hey! Are you alive? Are you alive yet? Nothing. Wait. What was my name again? Everything is a blur. Tell me if you're still dead. Come on, don't keep me hanging. I opened my eyes and saw a Jester. Oh, you're up. Rise and shine, sleepyhead. He smiled. I hope I didn't disturb you. He giggled. His smile just weirded me out. Would have been a shame if I messed up your sweet slumber. He tilted his head. I was frozen in shock. His hand held out. Good morning? I don't know why, but that was what came out of my mouth. Aw, you're quite a sweetie, aren't ya? He tilted his head yet again. Just so cute, I want to squish your little cheeks. I like you. Oh, I like you already. He giggled. I froze. I didn't know what to say. My cheeks were flushed as I looked over his body. I like you too. My hand immediately went over my mouth. He blushed. Oh my gosh, you are just so cute. He held my cheeks. Can I take you home? He leaned closer. Something just seemed off. But we don't know each other. I looked away. Oh dear, you're right. He crossed his arms and huffed. How rude of me. He bowed and looked at me. Well, I guess you can call me Kirishima, our Jester. I don't mind. He smiled. He stayed there, but his eyes opened, and so did his smile. The whites of his eyes were black, and his teeth were sharp. Pleasure to meet you, my dear master. Master? I spoke. He quickly stood tall. Well then, my dear master, would you please close your eyes? He tilted his head. I nodded, feeling the warmth of his hands over my eyes. The heat lingered, even after his palm left my skin. Don't open them now. He chuckled. As soon as he whispered those words, he was gone. Huh? Who are you? I heard voices from outside. Monster! No, spare me! The hooves of the horses had seemingly stopped. Funny, coming from someone keeping a cadaver at the back. We were tasked to dispose of it. Do I look like I care? Nothing more. It had grown silent. Open your eyes, dearie. I heard him yet again. I opened my eyes and saw him. The door was open. Blood on the ground near the door. And on him. Do you like it? He asked in the doorway, his hand out once again. I don't know why, but my body moved on its own, and I smiled. Come on now, my lovely master. He smiled as I took his hand, helping me down. Let us raise the world together. I woke up, my eyes looking upwards, remembering the day I had met him. I moved my hand to my chest. How did I fall in love with him? The Jester, the demon of betrayal and nightmares. I sat up from my bed, feeling the morning sun on my skin. A knock came from my door and opened. It's only me. It was Lyra. Hanae has decided not to stay in your court. She walked over with a tray. Kirishima told me your favorite. She placed the tray down just aside from me, then took a fork and took a bite. She placed the fork down. I now noticed that there was two. Just making sure it's not poison. It was quiet. I raised my hand to shudder. No, it's not that. I'm just tired. I sighed, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Lyra was a quiet woman. She stood tall and proud. She was the second child of her family, having an older brother, but after an incident, she had become suddenly the head of the household. Because of this, her father taught her many things, and one being her favorite, law. She was brilliant, being top of her classes. If you want, I can leave, she finally spoke. No, it's not that. I took a bite of the food. Where's Kirishima? I asked after swallowing. She looked to the door, then bent down, placing her hand by my ear. The reason I tested your food was because someone had tried to poison it. She then stood again. I see. I began to eat once again. God, this is good. She began to look around the room, finding something that had caught her attention. She walked over towards wherever it was. I smiled and continued to eat my dish. I looked up to see that she had tapped one of the eyes. Why? She gasped. I chuckled. If you haven't noticed, there are eyes everywhere. I took another bite. If for safety, you'll understand if you stay long enough. She looked back at the eye. It seemed to smile at her, before closing shut. She stood and dusted off her clothes. Are there any in my room? So that's what concerned her first. She crossed her arms. I raised a brow. No, why? I don't allow his eyes in other rooms. Only mine. I ate a piece again, humming in pleasure. I moved the tray to the side and stood up. Don't bother. I stopped her from going to my closet. She only looked confused. You only are here because they want you to be. I walked over to the closet and opened it. But won't you be able to do much more with me by your side? She asked. I took a dress, walking behind a screen. Maybe, I don't really know. The others only try and kill me. I heard her gulp as I dressed myself. Then let me be the first. Let me be the one to be your left hand. She stopped. I stopped and stood, peeking out to look at her. Her face was stern, focused only on me. I quickly dressed myself and walked over to her. If I find out anything about you trying to threaten my life, then I'll kill you. I'll make sure you're alive as your body is torn limb from limb. Her face looked worried. She then looked down and nodded. I'm at your service. Even if you ask me to stab myself, then I will. She bowed and looked up at me. Good. Now, I have somewhere to be. I booped her nose. She looked shocked. Wouldn't you want to see what happens? Wouldn't want you to see what happens to war criminals now, would we? I tilted my head with a smile. She nodded and stood tall once again. I walked to the doors and stood there for a bit, my smile instantly turning into a frown, walking to where I needed to be. P.S. Go check out Trapped with Jester. It was my inspiration. Tee-hee!